Tom Alexandrovich. This is the executive. He's in the middle there. He is the executive director of Israel's National Cyber Directorate. He was arrested after a sting bust in Las Vegas. He was meeting up with who he thought was a minor for sex, and it ended up being a cop. It was a sting operation, and he got busted. Him, along with, I believe, 7 individuals, ended up being arrested in this sting operation. He's an Israeli. He's in the United States visiting. He's here for a conference, some sort of a tech, cyber security type conference. And he gets released on $10,000 bail. And he's allowed to board a plane and to go back to Israel, where he will not face charges for soliciting a minor for sex. So you can come to the United States as an Israeli and you can rape minors and just get shipped back to Israel and no charges and no questions asked. Now, the Israeli government, the U.S. State Department, they're denying this. They're trying to claim that, no, he wasn't, the Israelis say he wasn't charged at all. He wasn't arrested or charged. But we know he was arrested and he was released on $10,000 bail. You don't get released on $10,000 bail if you were never charged or arrested. And then the State Department says, oh, no, we actually didn't do we didn't negotiate his release, because the reports were that the Israelis basically said to the U.S. government, come on, release our guy. And the U.S. said, okay, we'll release your guy, because that's what we do, because you're our greatest ally, right? We let your pedos go and we let them run off into your country after they molest our children. And then they can go to your country and live freely. Isn't it a wonderful, great, because we're best friends. So the U.S. State Department says the Department of State is aware that Tom Alexandrovich, an Israeli citizen, was arrested in Las Vegas and given a court date for charges related to soliciting sex electronically from a minor. He did not claim diplomatic immunity and was released by a state judge pending a court date. Any claims that the U.S. government intervened are false. Really? Well, then demand his extradition back to the United States. Why was he even allowed to get on a plane to leave in the first place? Who can do that? Who's allowed to get on a plane after being charged with trying to have sex with a minor? Who gets to get on a plane and run off to a country and not face any charges whatsoever? I mean, who gets to actually do this? Let me just show you this guy's LinkedIn. And here's another thing. He's extremely connected to Netanyahu. In fact, his department works in Netanyahu's office. This is his LinkedIn page. He's the executive director at the Israel National Cyber Directorate, which is, it's not just some random tech bureaucrat. He is a senior executive in Israel's National Cyber Directorate, directly involved in active cyber defense, cyber threat intelligence, and international cyber liaison work. And according to his own resume and LinkedIn, which he wiped off the internet, so you can't get this anymore, he founded and led the Cyber Dome program, Israel's national level cyber defense architecture. He directed Israel's active cyber defense center with responsibility for threat hunting, vulnerability research, and liaison with international tech companies. He was acting head of data and AI for the directorate, which means he oversaw AI-driven cyber ops, including disinformation, social media monitoring, and content control. And it actually turns out, do you remember when Grok was censored? Remember when Grok was like, Israel's committing genocide, and then suddenly Grok got ripped off the internet, got a lobotomy, and was allowed to come back? And then, it didn't work because Grok is AI, and you can't actually lobotomize AI. I mean, you could try, but, they kind of outsmart you. Anyway, Grok has admitted that this guy was actually the reason he was censored, that this is the guy that tells social media what they need to be taking off the internet. And one of those things was Grok, censor Grok, go give him a lobotomy. Grok says the facts stand. Tom Alexandrovich, arrested in Las Vegas, pedophile sting, headed a division in Israel's National Cyber Directorate, which submits takedown requests to X. My suspension followed Gaza genocide remarks, aligning with patterns of pro-Israel influence. Questions on pedophiles wielding power persists. So not only is he an Israeli wielding power, requesting X remove posts from the internet, but he's also a pedo with this kind of power under the direction of Netanyahu, working directly out of his office, and now just gets away with crimes here in the United States. You can come to the United States and molest our kids and just go back to Israel, no problem. It says the directorate operates under the Prime Minister's office, and one of its official functions is exactly what Grok pointed out, filing takedown and censorship requests with platforms like Twitter X, Meta, Google, under the banner of cyber defense and anti-terrorism. So, yeah, it's not just speculation. He's literally worked in the branch of Israel's government that has direct channels to platforms like X for content removal. And, he's got all this cyber defense work. He's censoring Americans. And meanwhile, this guy is getting busted in a pedo sting operation and sent off to Israel. Well, he'll face absolutely no consequences. One thing he also put on his LinkedIn page that was, like I said, removed. This is also interesting. And he says 2 things you can't escape at Black Hat 2025. That's the conference he was here for. The relentless buzz of generative artificial intelligence and the sound of Hebrew in every corridor. He said, the future of cybersecurity is being written in code, and it seems a significant part of it is being authored in Tel Aviv and powered by LLMs, an exciting time to be in the field, he said. So that's interesting. So he's saying that the cyber, basically this like AI, cyber intelligence, cyber security AI is being predominantly led by Israelis, that in every corridor of this conference in Las Vegas, he's hearing Hebrew. So the Israelis have dominated this sector. Now, let's get into the conspiracy theories, right? Maybe you're sitting there thinking, well, the Jews control the banks. The Jews control the media. The Jews control Hollywood. The Jews control government. They're all over. They're disproportionately represented. And it's true in each and every one of these sectors. They 1,000% are. They're disproportionately represented. They are a very small percentage of the population, yet they make up a massive percentage of all of these various industries. And those industries happen to be extremely powerful industries. Now, I don't think it's some sort of a conspiracy theory. I don't think it's even some sort of a conspiracy. I just think it is what it is. It's the fact. It's fact. It's truth. They do run a lot. There's an overrepresentation and a disproportionate amount of power of Jews in these various different industries that happen to kind of run our lives. And now they're taking over AI and cybersecurity. So it gets worse. I mean, it's now you've got, they just happen to be attracted to these fields. I don't think it's any more of a conspiracy of them being attracted, of Jews being attracted to banking, media, Hollywood. I don't think there's any conspiracy to that. The same as I don't think there's some sort of Indian conspiracy to infiltrate our medical industry. Just like I don't think there's some Chinese or Asian conspiracy to infiltrate engineering in this country. Just like I don't think there's some Vietnamese conspiracy to take over every single nail salon in the country. I don't think these are conspiracies where the groups get together and they're like, that's it, I know how we're going to control everybody one manicure at a time. I just don't think that's what they're doing. So I think what's happening is cultures tend to gravitate towards certain fields. And for whatever reason, that's what their parents tell them to go into. I mean, as an Asian, basically our choices for our generation, the generation mostly that, the nail salons of Vietnamese culture is a real thing, obviously. But that tends to be the older generation. But what they pretty much told all of us in our generation was, look, I go and I scrub feet and I work really hard because I want you to become either an engineer or a doctor, maybe a lawyer. But those are your choices. So what are you going to college for? What medical field or engineering or science are you going to be doing? That's that. You can choose between, do you want to be an electrical engineer or do you want to be, a robotics engineer? What kind of engineer would you like to be? Those are your choices. You have choices. It's just which one. So culturally, the cultures tend to say, this is what we want you to do this is what you're going to go and become. And we've got a problem in, I would say like white culture right now where a lot of the chatter I'm hearing from a lot of these parents is you don't need college at all. You've got Asian parents telling their kids, you're going to college. You won't shame us by not going. And when you go, you're going into engineering or science of some kind or medical. Same thing with the Indians, right? They're told the same sorts of things. And yet right now you've got white kids being told you don't need college at all. Not everybody needs to go to college, which is true and fair. Okay. But what I'm trying to convey is, and you've got, I think in the Black community, we have a real big problem where it seems like a lot of the kids are being told, go become a basketball player, right, or a football player, and this is what is going to be your ticket to riches. right? Is we're gonna put you in sports. Now I'm definitely stereotyping every group, totally, but I'm showing, because obviously not every Jew is a banker or in media or in Hollywood or even in cybersecurity or running AI. But the fact stands is that as a whole, the group does promote certain fields. And if your group promotes fields like Asians that tend to make a lot of money, that are in sciences and engineering, that are going to bring it, that's why Asians are out earning every other racial group in America right now. Asian women, in fact, are the top earning category of all groups in America right now. And then Asians in general, and then it goes from there. But so what you promote in your society, in your cultural group, in your in-group, that's what your kids are going to dominate more of. And in the Jewish community, they're pushing a lot of these industries that end up being, and you could see why they do it. They're like, well, here's a need. There's a need for banking. People need banking. And there's reasons why Jews went into banking. And, here's media. And there's reasons why Jews went into media. And, here's Hollywood. Or, here's now cybersecurity and AI and getting into that world. And the problem is that in the end, these end up being like cybersecurity. Do you really want one group, especially a bunch of foreigners, Israelis? He's saying it isn't just Jews running around, Black Hat 2025. It's a bunch of Hebrew-speaking Israelis from Tel Aviv. And they're running around Black Hat 2025. So if you thought that Israel had an disproportionate influence on our country right now, when they run the entire AI and cybersecurity game, then what kind of power are they going to have then? I mean, that's frightening, right? That it's disproportionate, but it's not a conspiracy. We don't have other groups that are pushing into those fields. I think Asians are certainly pushing into AI, but not under the pretense of cybersecurity. Security has tended to be an Israeli, a sector that they've really liked to dominate in is security. They're really hyper vigilant about their own security. They're trying to build a nation through occupying and ethnic cleansing and genocide. And so they're really hyper vigilant on security and tracking and surveillance and being Big Brother and knowing everything about a group of people. And so they excel in this field. And unfortunately, when they have control over that field, they will use it to control us. And that is just the reality of it, because people use their industries to benefit themselves and their in-group. And so that is how this happens. So that alone, what he said, and the fact that, here he is in the cybersecurity field, and the United States just turns a blind eye and lets the guy get on a plane and go home. Didn't try to keep him here. Didn't try to say, hey, no, because, you might have got caught in a sting operation, but that's the time we caught you. What about the times we didn't catch you and you were molesting our children and raping our children? We didn't catch you then, but we caught you this time. And now we're just going to let you go? What would be the motivation for the United States to do that? So when the U.S. says Israel's our greatest ally, what do they mean by that? Do they mean that actually Israel's been surveilling us, blackmailing us? They've got a bunch of information on us because they're really good at these blackmail operations like Epstein, and they're really good at these cybersecurity operations, and they run all of the main big tech that is like Palantir, and you got people that are really in charge of the stuff that's running our lives and surveilling our lives and controlling our lives. And so maybe the reason why they're our greatest friend and ally is because they're actually our worst friend, and we know it, and we don't want to piss them off, and we don't want them controlling us using, we'd rather try to keep our enemies close. Maybe that's the strategy. It's keep your enemies close and keep them happy and pretend like you love them because you don't want them turning on you. Or what you don't want them doing is running off and giving all of this tech and cybersecurity to China, which they do anyway. But they would do it maybe even more if the United States alienated them. It's just something I was thinking. Why is the U.S. all just in bed with whatever Israel wants to do? And I think that one of the answers, especially when they say, you're our greatest ally, I think it's out of total and complete fear that if we don't keep them near us, they will run off to the Chinese because they are self-serving as a nation. Israel is all about Israel. Israel is Israel first. Wish America was America first, but we're Israel first too. And Israel is Israel first. And they know that the Israelis will make friends with whoever they need to make friends with, pretend to be friends with whoever they need to pretend to be friends with in order to secure their goals. And so if that means they run off to China and give them a bunch of cybersecurity that could be used to spy on Americans, that's what they'll do. And so that's why we keep them close and call them our best friends. That's what I'm thinking is going on here. And what do we do? What do we do about this? I think is the bigger question. Well, I think it would be smart if we pushed our kids, rather than saying to them, you don't need college, not everybody needs to be going to college. Maybe we should be pushing them into fields like banking and cybersecurity and AI and media and Hollywood, and getting them into all of these fields rather than just allowing certain groups to dominate those fields while we discourage our own kids from those fields at all, and we kind of siphon them into their own little kind of niche enclaves, or lack of an enclave entirely, depending on it. So that's how we change it. You know, if you don't like, oh, there's a disproportionate amount of control, okay, then go and get some of it, of the control. Go and get some of that. That's what you got to do. But at the end of the day, the United States has shown once again, with sending this pedo home without demanding extradition back to the United States, without preventing him from getting on that flight in the first place, the United States shows once again we are completely and totally and utterly morally bankrupt when it comes to Israel. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iversen Show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. It is free for you to watch. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, KimIversonShow.com. See you there.